Good morning, chat. How are we doing? How is chat this morning? Welcome back to Breakfast with Pop Pop. Today I had some Honey Nut Cheerios. I put a little bit of chia and flax in there for some extra protein. Good morning, good morning. All right. Let's see. Do we want to wait for some more people to come in here? Let's wait for some more people to come in here. What did everybody do over the weekend? We're going to be discussing some shit this morning. New shit has come to light. Oh, you built a second raised garden bed. That's amazing. Garden is fully planted, including fruit bushes. We haven't put our stuff out into the garden bed yet because we're afraid it's going to frost again. No, I'm so sorry, Carissa. I'm sorry about your dad. I hope things get better for your family. Made some split pea soup. Okay, we are rolling now. We got about 19 people in here. Okay, so we have been having a lot of discourses lately on the good old TikTok, right? And a lot of those discourses have centered around like fixing the vibes, right? We're trying to fix the vibes of what is happening on the left. And I was trying to figure out, because I was like, these discourses, there's something here. What exactly is ruining the vibes? What is it? Because, for a while I thought it was the rage, but like, you can have good vibes that are still angry. You know what I mean? So I was like, it's not the rage. The rage is not what is killing the vibes. So what is it? So then I was like, okay, is it... So I would go through like individual things. Like the nitpicking is definitely ruining the vibes. The cowardice is definitely ruining the vibes. But I feel like there's this like deeper root. And so I had asked the question yesterday in that one video, like, okay, I mean this genuinely, but like, when somebody makes fun of someone who has similar traits to you, is that something that actually hurts your feelings? Because, like, I am unbothered. Like, a powerful person, like, makes fun of, like, a powerful person who is evil, who has similar, like, physical traits to you. And I'm like, I am not bothered by this. So what is it, here that... Are you guys bothered by this? Is this something that actually bothers people? Or is this something where, like, people are coming in, they're trying to advocate for certain groups, and they're doing it in a messy way? I mean, that is why I asked the question, right? I'm so sorry. You can probably hear my dumbass cat scratching in the litter box, because for some reason, they always decide to take a shit as soon as I start streaming. It's like, they have to do it. They have to. I think it's the impossible standards and the abandonment when you fail to live up to them. So here, I realized it at 1 in the fucking morning. 1 in the fucking morning, I realized the thing that is making the vibes so bad, right? So every generation has their thing, their negative trait they are known for, right? The thing they get remembered for. And for the boomers, it's like their ambition and cruelty, right? For Gen X, they're usually kind of thought of as like lazy, apathetic slackers, right? Millennials, it's the immaturity, the lack of desire to stand up and take our power back. That is generally what we're known for. And they, some of that I think is overblown as a millennial. Some of it, it's true. We are deeply immature people. We didn't want to grow up. And it's really a fucking detriment to society. So, I say that. I have to throw myself under the bus a little bit because of what I'm about to say about Gen Z. I think that the current vibe, the current mood, what Gen Z will be known for is insecurity. Really and truly, I think that is the defining characteristic of that entire generation, insecurity. Um, from the right end of the spectrum to the left. And I think Gen Z is incredibly unique because everybody has insecurities, right? Like this is a very human trait. To have a few insecurities, right? Some things that bother you. I think that Gen Z is unique in the sense that they don't just have insecurities. They have insecurities that they refuse to fix, and they try to instead bend the world around them. Um, they want to, instead of looking inside themselves and addressing their own insecurities, they instead decide it is the world's problem and that the world is what needs to change to suit their insecurities. And like I said, I think that that is something that um, goes from the right end of the spectrum to the left. I mean, you have like I took notes. um, you have like the incels, right? The incels are incredibly insecure. That's why we're seeing this like um uptick of fascism in younger generations. It's because of the insecurity. These men are deeply um it seemingly irreversibly insecure um in a way that they do not want to fix. They simply do not want to fix it. um then we have the tender queers, right? They are also deeply insecure. They don't want to fix it. They don't want to fix that insecurity. What they want is the world to cater to it. They want the world to bend around their personal insecurities. And what they do is they project those personal insecurities onto communities at large that they may be a part of, and make it seem like it's some sort of political movement that they're engaging in, when really what they are trying to do is bend the world around what bothers them. And I think that's why it comes off as so disingenuous when it happens. I think there's a way to tell, like, when someone is genuinely trying to create a better world out of love for a marginalized community, and when someone is performatively outraged, either for their own because of their own personal insecurities about something that they feel, something about themselves they don't like, or that they overall feel worthless, and this is their way of giving themselves some sort of security, some sort of feeling that they are doing something worthwhile. Um, and I really do think that's a problem. Uh, the deep misogyny amongst like Gen Z men, um, it's due to their own insecurity. Um, we talk about the like internalized evangelicalism that leaves people with this like hole, um, this thing they feel they need to fill within themselves, and that is, it causes insecurity. The art is bad because the art, people are afraid, literally afraid, to make something that is real, um, because if other people see it, they will then be known for that thing, and it will ruin their lives. Um, they don't have sex because they're insecure. They don't go out and cause mischief because they're insecure. This learned helplessness is caused by the insecurity, the nitpicking, all of it, all of it, all of it, all of it are the reason. It all comes down to insecurity. It all comes down to insecurity. So the insecurity is going to be what needs fixed. People are going to have to, on some level, I don't want to say suck it up, even though that is my first instinct, but they are going to have to fix themselves. They're going to have to fix themselves. This deep, unwavering insecurity across this entire generation, from like younger millennial, like part of it is my generation too, younger millennial to Gen Z. The whole vibe is just being deeply, deeply insecure. I mean, look at even how they tease us, right? Like, a lot of the things that Gen Z teases millennials for, like, I get it, okay. So this is something that happens in every generation, where the kids think you are cringe. They think you're embarrassing. Like, that's just part of getting older, right? Um, but the things that they tend to, and there's so much to make fun of for millennial, like about millennials. Like, we can be absolutely insufferable sometimes. Um, but I've noticed a lot of what gets picked at is just us having fun. Us having fun. And I'm just like, you guys are terrified to have fun. You are terrified to have fun. And I don't know if it's all just the insecurity, or if there's like guilt there because of how bad the world is. It feels shitty to have fun. But how do we fix generational self-esteem issues? I mean, some of that is just growing up. You get more secure in yourself, but this seems much deeper than that. It is. Like I said, everyone to some extent has insecurity issues, and it is worse when you are young. But this is a paralyzing insecurity. This is a insecurity that is so deep that there are young boys right now who are literally like pro-rape. Like, actively pro-rape. Like, deeply unashamed of that. And that is not great. When you have insecurities that go that deep to where you are engaging in criminality or self-harm, or are not leaving your house, or just engaging in things that are deeply unhealthy for yourself and or society, that is a problem that needs fixed. Like, that is just, it is a problem that needs fixed, and it feels very much like the root of all of these discourses we've been having lately. All of them is that younger millennials and Gen Z, and to some extent, I think older millennials too. I think that our biggest thing, I don't think we have the deep generational insecurity that Gen Z has, but I do think we have an insecurity around taking our own power back. I think we're afraid of having to be the adults in the room, and that is not great either. I think my fellow Zoomers really need to get comfy with their insecurity and learn to address it internally, aka learn to not give a fuck. Yeah, some of this is gonna have to come down to learning to not give a fuck. You have to on some level not give a fuck. And I think that, you know, we kind of expected older generations, and this is again our fault, um, we expected too much out of Gen Z. We thought they were going to be the ones that like saved the world, and I think that was just way, way, way too much pressure to put on them. And it made them give too many fucks. It made them give too many fucks about things. I don't know why. And like I said, some of it is just a matter of getting older and learning to not give a fuck about things. But like I said, this seems deeper than that. There is some sort of, like I said, there are literally young men in Gen Z who are actively pro-rape. Like that is not normal. That is not normal. That is not general, teenage early 20s insecurity. I think part of the insecurity comes from the internet, knowing that anything they could do could end up becoming some viral meme where they get mocked. Yeah, I do too. I think it has a great deal to do with the internet. And so what's going to have to happen, honestly, and this is going to have to be kind of like a psychological shift amongst people, is that first off, we have to collectively not give a shit what people say about us on the internet. And I know that's very, very hard. And we have to accept that we have to make it bad behavior to pick on people for nothing. And I don't think we've done that. I don't think we've ever actually done that, because this is a self-perpetuating problem, right? This is a problem that causes itself, right? Because what I realized yesterday when I made that video, because I'd made the video the day before, right? That was like, things are more nuanced and complicated than they seem. People aren't, the words they say. Sometimes it's more complicated than that. Sometimes it's more nuanced. Almost everyone agreed with that until I asked the question the next day, which was, does this actually hurt your feelings when people make fun of traits that you may have in evil people? Like when, for example, if somebody makes fun of Donald Trump for being fat and dickless, right? If you are someone who is fat and dickless, do you get offended by that? Because I feel nothing, okay? I feel nothing. And that is when the shit show kind of started. That is when people started getting real fucky on things. And it was better than I expected. People didn't get super fucky, I think just because of the way I asked the question. But I think that what happens is, I think everyone agrees there is a problem with the nitpicking, right? Everyone agrees that there is an issue here, that the vibes are bad. But nobody wants to be the one who stops nitpicking. Nobody wants to be the one who keeps the vibes from being bad. Everybody still wants to wrap the world around their personal insecurities. And so this problem just perpetuates itself over and over and over again. And we can't get rid of it. And then we have the cancel culture, not the cancel culture, the call out culture creators, right? And they get lifted to the top, whereas people who make educational content that is good, but who are imperfect people, ContraPoints and Lindsay Ellis come to mind, they end up getting thrown under the bus during the first time they fuck up, while these cancel culture creators, these call out creators, they survive their shit always. I think there's this insecurity in having fun, because then people attack others for experiencing joy. Maybe it's a bitterness. Why can they be themselves and I can't? I do think that is part of it. And I think that, it's just like when closeted gay men are deeply homophobic. And now I'm not saying every homophobe is, a closeted gay man. The opposite of that, right? I think that closeted gay men end up being homophobes because of the bitterness. There is a bitterness there that causes them to be that way. And I think we're having a similar thing with these younger generations. They are bitter that millennials, we've been made fun of our entire lives. So on a certain level, we just do not care. We do not care. And like Gen X, their whole thing was like the generational shrug, you know? Like, so I think that they give so many fucks that they've kind of ruined their ability to feel joy. And that's really, really unfortunate. It's not doing them any favors either. These people, like, like I said, all across the political spectrum, right? Like the incels, they're not happy. They're not happy. They're not like getting good advice that is helping them live decent and fulfilling lives. They're not. Ow. God damn, Pearl. I guess Pearl wants to be seen. She's down here biting my fucking feet. Here. There you go. There's the baby. Is that what you wanted? You wanted to be seen for the queen you are? Was the queen not getting attention? She's down here biting my fucking toes. You better not bite my toes again. I'll put you in the bathroom. She is grumpy. She always looks like a huge bitch. Okay. Nope, we're going in the bathroom. Nope, come here. Nope. Nope. We can't be acting like that while Dad's streaming. We gotta go to the bathroom now. We gotta go in the bathroom now. There we go. Don't worry, there is food in a litter box in there for her. She is not going to starve or pee. She will be fine. She just keeps like biting my toes and I can't handle it. I can't concentrate on stream when I got a cat biting my toes. That bitterness and jealousy is hell omnipresent and really restrictive funding sex too. Yeah, I think some of these kids grew up fundamentalist and that is why. But I also think that is why the way they act reminds us of fundamentalism. Does that make sense? Like, I think that those who did not grow up in fundamentalism have taken on such a fundamentalist mindset that it is like indistinguishable now. The newer generation is also so much more misogynist too. Like the way they treat mothers is disgusting, calling us breeders and insisting we never show our face in public because we have kids. Yeah, and that shit started with millennials. It wasn't as bad, I don't think. But I remember that shit happening like when I had Miles. And I guess part of that was like Gen Z, but it was bad amongst millennials too, because like I think there was a bitterness there. I think some of it was a bitterness about like feeling pressure to have children by older generations when they didn't want them. I think it was also that those who did want them couldn't afford them. And I think that there was a bitterness there, and I think that got caused around like children. I think everyone's issue with mothers and motherhood is the lack of support and infrastructure that's then been displaced and miscast as discussed. Yeah, I think so too. But yeah, so somebody asked, I think okay, my question is how do we reach and okay, of course, now I can't read it. How do we mentor these young people, right? And that's an excellent question. I wish I had a better answer for you, but maybe we can discuss it here, right? How do we mentor them? How do we help these young people take care of these insecurities that are absolutely ruling over them. Because that's the thing, is that, like I said, across the entire political spectrum, these young people no longer see their personal insecurities as personal insecurities. They see them as a broader political movement. And that is going to make it more difficult to unpack all of this, because they have justified their insecurities by calling it a political movement. More intergenerational spaces somehow. So here's another thing I've realized about Gen Z. Now, this is certainly not all Gen Z, but it is a problem amongst Gen Z. And it's been a problem for a while. I think to some extent, millennials and possibly even Gen X had this problem. There used to be churches, right? And a lot of people went to church. So there were these multi-generational spaces, right? But the youth does not want to hang out with older people a lot of the time. They just don't. And they don't want old people where they are either, right? So it is very, very difficult to create now these multi-generational spaces because a lot of times young people just won't come. They just won't come. And especially in the queer community, there is a huge, huge, huge problem with queer people seeing you as basically dead when the second you turn 30. So yeah. So the thing is, you got to convince younger people to show up to multi-generational spaces, which they don't want to do. They don't. Well, and not only can you not get them to show up to multi-generational spaces, you can't get them to leave their fucking house. You cannot get them to leave their fucking house. That has been the biggest, like, hurdle with this generation, is that so many of them do not want to go outside. And being more understanding. I'm not sure fully mentoring, but I do know a big change for me was changing my language. So hope is in changing my own heart first. I can be more there for others, like shedding insecurity and being more understanding. I'm not entirely sure what you're saying, Bambi. Also, my chat's going really fast right now. Oh, there. So, I hate Chromebooks so much. Oh my god. Why? Why am I not able to scroll up on my chat on Chromebook? Like, the little bar will come up here. I hate this computer. I bitch about this computer all the fucking time. I've seen the kids work themselves off of social media by switching over to classic phones versus smartphones, and they're reporting great effects to their health. Yeah, honestly, I think at this point, I mean, I've talked to Heather about, like, I feel like I need a work phone and a home phone. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I need a work phone that has all of the social media apps that I need to work, right? Because I need all of these so that I can work. And I need a separate phone that literally just has, like, my chats and texts and the ability for people to call me. Honest to God. Like, it just feels so... But we can't afford that. Like, that's the thing, is that, like, I can't afford 2 separate phones. And I think that a lot of young people would benefit from something similar, of having, like, a, you know, a phone that doesn't have social media on it, that's just for like texts and calling and maybe some group chats. And that is what like goes outside with them. Um, and then they have like a separate phone that they can occasionally use for social media that gets like put in a fucking drawer. Also, the young people are having a problem with gaming in fucking school. At least my kids are. They don't need to be having them iPads. Just sit a kid down with a pencil and paper. Oh god, I sound like a fucking old person. But like, seriously. You have to convince them to leave their house. Yeah, exactly. I bring my niece to kid-friendly queer activism events. We had an upstander training a couple weeks ago. But I wasn't allowed outside as a teenager. Yeah, okay. Gen X, we gotta have a talk. We gotta have a talk, alright? The helicopter parenting fucked your kids up. I'm sorry, it did. It did. It did. It did not grant them any level of independence. I know that you were latchkey kids and largely neglected, okay? But like, you gotta lay the fuck off. You have to let them gain some independence. You have to. They don't learn how to risk assess otherwise and they end up weird. Would after school programs be a good option? Yes. But a lot of people can't afford those, or their parents work 500 hours a fucking week. Plus, the fear mongering about higher crime rates made my dad basically deny me access to the outside entirely to protect me. We lived in the woods. Yeah, it's fucking insane, man. Parents, you gotta let your kids have a little bit of independence. If your kid, in my opinion, now I'm not here to tell people how to fucking parent, right? Um, but like, I can tell you, one of our children is more of an indoor child, okay? And, they gotta, like, when they're like 12, 13, if you're in a Walmart, let them go to the other side of the Walmart, especially if they have a fucking phone. You know what I mean? Like that, let them wander around the Walmart by themselves. If you go to the mall, let them wander around the mall. It's not going to kill them, okay? Um I think a lot of it too is that people got annoyed by like preteens and teenagers wandering around places, and so they started passing laws against it. Bring back dumb phones and PCs in the family room being the only access to the internet. Really and truly, I do not think our brains were prepared to handle having this technology in our pocket. I think that it was maybe a mistake. The thing is now you can't put the genie back in the bottle, you know? If we've opened Pandora's box, we have to accept what we have done, and find ways to work society around it. There's nothing for kids to do that they won't get in trouble for. Yeah, really and truly, like older generations did this. Like this, I think we can thoroughly blame on the boomers. I think we can pretty thoroughly blame this one on the boomers. So as younger generations, like Gen X and lower, what we have to do is we got to stop the NIMBYism. We got to get these kids back into the world. Into the world. So that they may vibe. Okay? I remember, and maybe, this was too far, who knows? I don't know. Who knows how to be a good parent? It feels like everything is fucking, hindsight is 2020 shit, where you like look back and you're like, oh no, what have I done? But like, my parents, when I was like 12, 13, I got dropped off at the fucking mall. I got dropped off at the fucking mall, and I wandered around getting Fago showers with a bunch of juggalos and shoplifting a little bit and pissing off the mall cops. Like, that's how I spent my preteen years. And, you know, I'm just saying maybe the children need a small amount of petty criminality. Okay, all of them. I support teenagers' rights to be slightly petty criminals. All right? I do. I think that's how you learn to risk assess. And I'm talking all children. Until until all children have the right to be slightly petty criminals, we have not achieved equality. They're like, I know what I did when I was a teen, so let's outlaw teens from doing that stuff. Yeah, really and truly. Like, I'm sitting here, I'm like, man, okay. I know that a lot of this shit is dangerous, and we should encourage kids we should give them the tools to be safe, right? We should give them the tools to be safe while having fun, right? I'm not saying we just throw our children to the wind and never tell them how to, you know, protect themselves when they're out having fun, but we need to let them have the fun. We need to let them have their moments, okay? Yeah, so many loitering laws are meant to bully the young and the houseless. Yes, exactly. What have we done? What have we done? We have destroyed a generation of children, turned their minds to mush, made them insecure as all fuck because they have no place to meet and hang out with like girls and learn how to not be a little weird freak. And you know, then we wonder how we got ourselves into this mess. We've given them no place to go. We've given them no opportunity to risk assess. And it's made them all weird. Like it's made them not able to function amongst other people. And I'm like, we gotta fix it. We have to fix it. Also, you Americans have a harder time with kids and teens because of car-centric infrastructure. The kids can't go anywhere if they wanted to because they can't drive. Yes, that is another massive problem. And that is one of those problems we are not going to fix overnight. Okay? That is one of those problems that's going to take several generations of people. Like, I'm not going to see that in my lifetime. But it's something that needs to happen, and I think that I think that needs to start with us as millennials, um, pushing things in that direction, and then, like, even if it means building, more less car-centric areas, you know what I mean? Um, and just kind of moving out from there. But like I don't even know how we would go about that kind of thing with how like our entire country is built like this. Our entire country is centered around cars. And I think it does have to change. But like I said, I don't think that's something that's going to happen in my lifetime. But something we can start to make the push for, right? I think we should start to make the push for that. Oh, petty crime, how I miss those days. Really and truly, some of my best moments in life were committing petty crimes, okay? They really were. And nobody got hurt. You know what I mean? Nobody got hurt. It was just mischief. And the children are not making mischief anymore, which is it is a developmental landmark, okay? It's a milestone. The children need to make mischief. It's how they learn to figure things out. They have to make mistakes. And that's the other thing. They don't make mistakes. They refuse to make mistakes because there is such intense consequence for mistakes now. Either from the legal system or from this like self-perpetuating digital panopticon they all live in. And so they are afraid to make mistakes or afraid to admit mistakes, or afraid to apologize for mistakes or afraid to do better, because when the internet exists, it is forever. You are that person now. That is a defining characteristic of you, so why change? And so they double down and they just never get any better. They can't risk assess because there's no space to be a human being. I told my nieces my hitchhiking stories. Now they want to do it. I definitely do not want them to do everything I did. But they aren't as socially adept as I was at their age. Yeah, that's the thing, is like, I tell stories about like hitchhiking and, you know, hopping trains across the country and stuff, and people find it fascinating. And like a lot of it was fucking miserable. Like, I'll be real. Like, I look back and I'm like, I did some things that caused me some trauma. I was in some situations that caused me some trauma. And I am working through those in therapy, but I also regret nothing. I regret nothing. I regret some of the ways I acted, right? I regret some of the ways I treated people, right? I think those, I look back and I'm like, oh God. Like, I wish I had the knowledge I had now. I would have reacted differently in these situations, you know. But the traveling itself, the getting out, the experiencing new things, I have no regrets on that. Also, Gen Z is too aware of the suffering of the world, which leads to hopelessness and doomerism. They don't have the understanding to process all that disaster at once. Nobody does. And that I think is a huge problem as well. We fundamentally, as human beings, do not have the ability to process the amount of disaster that is happening in this world at any given moment. And it's always, I mean, in some ways it's definitely getting worse, like, don't get me wrong. But, like, humans have always been terrible and there has always been suffering. This point in history is not terribly unique, right? Like, we've been killing each other forever. We've just found new ways of doing it. But it used to be that when people were killing one another, it was like you were aware of it because it was happening in your village. Like, if a neighboring army attacked your village, then you have like this instinct, right? You grab the orphans, and you put bread in their mouths and you run away, right? Or you fight. Like, that is what you do when your village is attacked. Well, what happens when the village is on the other side of the world? And you can't scoop up the orphans and feed them bread. And you can't fight. What then? What do? You just sit there helpless, banging on, like, the glass door that, like, that is your phone screen. You know, like, you cannot actually do that much. And so you're seeing this suffering. You're experiencing what a lot of the times our government is doing to people across the world. And we can yell at our government. We can try to change things on this end. But at the end of the day, there's just not much we can do. And we have this instinct to feed the orphans bread. That's what we want to be doing. And now we're realizing on a mass scale how many orphans there are that need bread, and how much money the richest people on earth have hoarded. And and the fact that we can do so little, well, the thing is, it's not that we can do so little. There is stuff we can do, but it is riskier than a lot of people are willing to engage in. And I do wonder how long that is going to hold out, because um the cage we have found ourselves in is getting tighter and tighter and tighter by the day. And the more tight that cage gets, the more things are going to start going bonkers. I grew up very fundy, very sheltered, and afraid of regrets. As an adult, honestly, I have way more regrets about my inaction than bad actions. Ooh, that's very insightful. See, I have always been the type of person, and I think it was just because I had no will to live. Like, I do not necessarily see this as a positive trait within myself, right? Um, I was a person who had very little will to live from an incredibly young age, so I just did not give a shit about my own well-being and did whatever the fuck. So for me, there wasn't a whole lot of inaction happening. So it is interesting to see that perspective from someone who was kind of more on the opposite side of things, you know? I know a lot of people tell others who start to avoid news and updates about the events around the world that, well, they don't get a break. Why should you? Yes. And I think that that leads to like a guilt about engaging in joy. I think a lot of people, because they are constantly looking at the suffering of others, are terrified to feel joy. And the thing is, I need some people to understand that that is the wrong way of looking at this. That is the wrong way of looking at this. Because people, if you talk to people who live in some of the most dire straits on earth, there is tons of heartbreak and pain and misery. But they do find time for joy. And because they understand the importance of it. There has to be time for joy, no matter who you are, no matter where you live. You cannot live in this perpetual state of guilt and of self-flagellation. It's not good for you. It's not good for you. It makes you weird. I miss when rich fucks had to do philanthropy to keep a good reputation and had to at least try to appear to help. Yeah, what the fuck happened to that? That's a good point. The mall I grew up going to now has a youth guardian policy for anyone under 18 after 6 p.m. Yeah, no, we got to get rid of those shits. We got to get rid of those shits. I honestly, the malls are dying. The malls are dying. We need to take over those somehow. Like we need to convince our cities to buy them and turn them into like public recreation areas or something that then can be rented out by local businesses. Like, I really do think that malls should be owned by the government. Like, I'm sorry, I do. I think malls should be owned by the government, and that stores they should offer like low rent storefronts to local businesses that then pay rent to be there. And they become more like public recreation areas, like parks. Dog, now I want to volunteer to like be a designated chaperone for a handful of preteens, teenagers somewhere, like the park, so they can be dumb kids outside without being considered unsupervised. Truly, really and truly. So, you actually can do that. Radius Snacktive. You can join Big Brothers Big Sisters. Highly recommend joining Big Brothers Big Sisters. They're always, always looking for bigs. We have 2 malls in my town. The one is for big businesses and the one that is local, and I absolutely love the local one. It also has the farmer's market. Yeah! Yeah, we need places like that. If we're gonna have fucking malls, and a lot of them are dead now, utilize the space. Repurpose it to something better. Because we need public spaces. We just do. And the thing is, I think it was Sad Beige who was talking the other day about how they don't just want to get rid of libraries to control information. They want to get rid of libraries because they are free. And they want to force you to pay for every single thing you feel or do in this world. That is the goal. They want to sponge as much money out of you as possible. That is what rich fucks want to do, okay? They want to pull as much money out of you as possible, as much labor out of you as possible, because we are on a scale of infinite growth. And eventually, infinite growth becomes absurd. It becomes absurd. There's no way around that. We cannot continue to grow things forever. The world has limited resources, limited labor. And right now, I mean, what's happening in our government right now? And I've tried so hard to tell people this. I'm like, this is not cutting waste in government, right? That is not what Doge is doing. What Doge is doing is finding new ways to suck money out of all of you. Like, this is a robbery by your government, and you all are just sitting here. Some of you are praising it. The government is literally picking your fucking pockets, and you are praising it, and it drives me insane. Because they're trying to privatize everything. So that everything, every single thing in this country can be privately owned and suck as much money out of people as possible. That is the goal. I know that suggesting a podcast is kind of cringe, but there was a recent 99% Invisible episode all about malls, including how they were created to replace downtown spaces. Okay, so first off, it is never think that you're being cringe. That is part of what we talked about earlier in this episode, right? Get rid of the mindset that anything you are doing is cringe. Okay? If it's not hurting anybody, you're fine. All right? You're fine. Just do it. That is part of building confidence, right? But yes, also, I agree with you. They were created to replace downtown spaces, so they should be property of the city. Okay? Like, that is just how it should go. The only cringe thing is being a fascist. Nothing else is cringe. Be weird, be free. Yeah, if you're not being a fascist and you're not being a reactionary, I'm telling y'all, go watch The Big Lebowski. That's your homework, all of you. Because I tried to do a chat on The Big Lebowski, and half of y'all hadn't seen it. So go watch The Big Lebowski. That's your homework for tonight. I bet you can get it at the library. Go to your local library and check out The Big Lebowski. That line of thought makes me so mad because we do pay for libraries with our taxes. I understand that the point is exploitation. I love libraries. They do so much for communities. Yeah, exactly. And they are like, okay, well, how about we take your tax money and use it for blowing up brown children? How's that sound? Does that sound great? Okay, so here's something else. Completely, we're going to kind of go back. We're going to circle back a little bit to the original topic of like insecurity and like the vibes, right? We're going to talk about the vibes. I have a feeling this is going to be a stream that goes a little long today. Because we got a lot to cover here. But ooh, sorry. So I realized yesterday, I was like, when it comes to the vibes, I'm like, what happened to the hippies? Like, okay, I get that hippies are a lot of times real fucking annoying, okay? Like, as someone who spent time under many a bridge with many a hippie, I get that, like, hippies can be fucking annoying, but, like, what happened to the stoners? Right? Like the stoners were kind of a vibe, way better than the vibes we have now. I'll take stoner vibes over the vibes we have now any fucking day. And I realized what happened to the hippies and the stoners. They became right-wingers. We lost the hippies and the stoners to anti-vaxxers and the conspiracy theories, and they all became right-wing QAnon types. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? That used to be like left-wing vibes. Was like the hippies and the stoners and the people who were like loose and free and all of that. And the vibes on the left have been so bad that we lost the stoners to fascism. How did this happen? Not to be that guy, but it's because they had no class politics. Yeah, that was part of it. I think part of it too is just literally conspiracy theories. I think that like we quite literally lost this group of people to the aliens. Like the weed got too strong. Okay. So I'm gonna have like a little complaint right now. For reals. For realsies. The weed is too strong. The weed is too strong. Okay? I want to be able to fucking smoke a joint. I can't smoke a joint. Why can't I smoke a joint? Because I will end up, like, in the hospital. Okay? Like, there's no reason it should be that strong. Conspiracy theories are just class politics for people who have no class politics. Okay, so how do we get class politics into the hands um, of the hippies? How do we do that without being, like, weird intellectuals, right? How do we do it? Y'all want to theorize some shit? Let's theorize that. How do we explain leftist politics to the average person? That needs to be like our, in my opinion, our primary fucking focus right now. Because lefties will sit and theorize and argue all day, and they will spend so much time on that that they do not think about how the fuck to explain this shit to normal people. Legalize ditchweed, ban dispensaries. Yeah, for real though. Okay? Like, or at least if we're gonna have dispensaries, have like an option that's like low grade, for fuck's sake. Everybody's like, how can we make the strongest weed possible? Well, maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you shouldn't do that. Maybe you should have an option that allows me to smoke an entire joint without feeling like I'm gonna die. Okay, wife, you and I are operating on 2 different levels with the marijuana, okay? They usually do, though. Honey, you and I have been to dispensaries together. You and I have been to dispensaries together, and I still, anything I can get at a dispensary, I have to take, like, I can take 1 hit, or I am going to be weird. And I like when I just have a nice little buzz going on. I don't want to be, like, on the floor, like, irreparably high. It's not fun for me. A joint that doesn't make your upstairs neighbor high too, please. Seriously! Five milligram gummies. Okay, I'll be fucking so for real with you. The 5 milligram gummies I have to take half of. I do like the edibles, though. I do. Is this what we need to do? Like, is this how we bring the hippies back? Do we just need to talk about, like, do I need to do like the Joe Rogan thing and just talk about pot? If you're literally stoned so bad you fuse to your couch or you're nonverbal, it's way different than sitting in a circle a little buzzed and able to have real conversations. Seriously, for real. For real, because I am the type of person that when I get too high, I go nonverbal. I'm just like, I'm going to just sit here and be high. And it's like uncomfortable, man. If I'm like, I don't do it around other people anymore. I used to smoke weed around other people. I don't do it anymore because the weed is too strong, and I'm not gonna just sit there and stare at the wall and be weird. Okay, I don't want to do that. Also, the weed smell pollution is my main problem with weed. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I do like the smell. I do like the smell. Um, that is one thing that actually does not bother me, but I totally understand why it would bother other people. It's weird that I had a conversation with my parents about their favorite dispensaries in the area, but they agree about some places feeling too sterile. Yeah, no, why do they all feel like fucking hospitals, too? Why? Why do they feel like hospitals? They shouldn't feel like a damn pharmacy. Or like an Apple store. Why? Why do they look that way? They should be filled with. You should be able to buy at a dispensary a drug rug. If you can't buy a drug rug at the same place that you're buying your fucking marijuana, it does not have the vibes we are looking for, okay? I had a special cookie at a friend's house, came home. My kid wanted ramen noodles. Normally, I would let her help, but I literally could not do that. Yeah, for real! Like, I shouldn't have problems making myself a sandwich. All right? This is my old person opinion, but I need us to agree to weed smoking areas. I'm tired of entire neighborhoods and apartment complexes smelling like weed. Okay, Donnie, I'm gonna be so for real with you right now. I love every single one of your opinions except for this one. If I'm gonna smoke weed, I'm gonna do it in my house. I'm gonna do it in my fucking house. I do think that having like bars wouldn't be a bad idea though. I think more people would go out and like do that in a bar. Um, if they had the option to. We need why your weed is too strong in your dispensaries or sterile scenes. Yeah, I like truly, okay, so you know what? You know what? The vibes here are good. Are we not having good vibes here right now? We are having excellent vibes. Uh, the vibes of this conversation are totally fine. And I do wonder if we need to start doing the Joe Rogan thing. I think, everybody's talking about how like the left needs their own Joe Rogan, right? And I do think we need to remember the marijuana. All right? I think we need to remember that Joe Rogan got his start because he had people on and fucking sat there and smoked weed with them. I think that perhaps we do need to kind of on our end bring the vibes back. Okay? We need to bring the vibes back of two like stoned people talking to one another about politics. I'm fine with people doing it in their apartments, but it would be great if it weren't in our shared laundry room. Yeah, that's okay. That's a dick move. That's a dick move. Don't do it in the public spaces, okay? Don't do it in the public spaces. Be nice. We definitely need more options. Some of us do not have sky high tolerance. Yeah, seriously. Vibes are always great around here. I try to keep the vibes great. Puff Puff podcast. Seriously, we need I think that's what people are kind of missing about the we need a Joe Rogan of the left type thing, is that like Joe Rogan was unbelievably chill, okay, and I think that and kind of like a fucking weird. I don't know if we could call Joe Rogan a himbo, but he kind of had those vibes, Like he's like a big dumb guy. He's a big dumb guy who smokes a lot of weed. And I think people like that vibe, they just do. Vibes are equivalent to the amount of people. A couple hundred people keeps the vibes cool, but millions makes it a mess. Yeah, truly. The fact that the closest we've got is Hassan, not good vibes. Yeah, like Hassan and Vosh, not excellent vibes from them. Um, honestly, better vibes than we have from a lot of people. Um, I'm trying to think of some of the people. Conjure Points has good vibes, I think. I think her vibes are fun. I need to be careful because I'm going to start talking about people and then people are going to get mad at me. We're going to keep the vibes good. We're going to get off this topic. Vosh has horrendous vibes. Okay. I think Vosh has vibes that appeal to a very certain subset of men. I think that Vosh has incredibly masculine vibes. And I think that's why a lot of people do not like him. And he's also an asshole. He's a huge asshole. There's plenty of good YouTubers, but I haven't seen many streamers or podcasters that I like. My girlfriend loves Hassan, but I could not listen to him around the election or after without the spiraling. Yeah, that's the thing about those kinds of streamers, is that, like, the ultra masculine streamers do have a certain element of, like, we're so cooked around them. You know what I mean? Like, I think Hassan does really good work. I think there is a certain element, and I think that streamers like Hassan, and even to some extent Vosh, I know y'all hate him, but I think that there is a certain subset of men that we are not going to get engaged with class politics without guys like that. I really do think that. Vosh just, I don't mind masculine. I watch West Side Tyler, who's very masculine. Vosh is just a liability, TBH. I don't know. I like Hassan, he's normal, and I agree with him broadly, and he's really good at creating a normal chat with normal people. Yeah, I can agree to that. The difficult thing is that vibes come from lived experience. There aren't universal vibes. What do we mean by that? Exactly. That's the thing, is like, I do think that certain vibes are going to sit differently with different people. I really, really do. I think that there are certain, and I think anybody right now who is talking class consciousness is, I mean, better than what we've got right now. Really and truly. We're so cooked, okay, but I have to go to work, so, exactly. So I think that, like, you know, I don't think it's good to listen to, like, that's the thing about leftists in general. I feel like we're so cooked vibes all the time. All the time, across our entire, from, like, the, you know, the ultra, like, tender queer type, you know, YouTubers that we have, like, let's be fucking real, Hoots and Thought Slime. There are certain groups of people who are not going to listen to Hoots and Thought Slime. They're just not. They are not going to do that. And then, you know, all the way over to these, like, ultra masculine, like, streaming guys who, like, play video games and stuff like that. I think that all the way across that spectrum, there's a vibe of we're so cooked. And I think, really and truly, maybe we just need a guy who sits and talks class consciousness while smoking a joint. Like, I think that's, like, we don't have that specifically. The point is to make the off-color jokes about being cooked. If you just say we're cooked, it's just awful. I think so. You know how there's that like Kurt Vonnegut quote about like you are what you pretend to be. I think even if you make off color jokes about being cooked enough, it just gives the vibes that we're cooked. I think that we kind of fulfill that on our own, you know? We've lost hope but still need to go to work, which makes inaction feel comfortable. Yeah. Because without hope, why do any work? Yep. I just think we need someone new and fairly normal. I feel like most of the big people across the spectrum of the left. I like most of the big people across the spectrum of the left, but they've all fucked each other up for one reason or another. That's the other thing, is like we got to get rid of the creator beef, man. We got to get rid of the creator beef. We can't be fucking tearing each other apart like that. We can't. Like, we just need to, like, accept that some creators are not going to have vibes we vibe with, and, like, kind of create solidarity amongst creators on the left. And I've been trying to, like, figure out how to do that with my fellow creators, because, like, creators are, okay, so here's a little secret that you guys already fucking know about creators, right? And I'm here to give you the inside details. You don't become a content creator if you don't like attention a little bit. You don't. You don't become a content creator unless you like attention a little bit. And so you end up with a bunch of people who have massive egos, right? And unless you can keep that in check, then you are going to have to, like, then you're going to, like, come unglued, right? And so, like, I don't think a lot of creators are self-aware enough to know that, like, they've got to keep that shit in check. I realized that, like, 2 years into my career, right? Like, my first 2 years, I was not making the content I make today, I'll say that. I did not have a good grasp on what I had gotten myself into. And I think that most creators don't for like the first 2 years of their career, and then it starts to even out a bit. I'm gonna argue that we need actionable steps for the community, but we gotta stop calling it shit like actionable steps. For real though. For real. We need someone who doesn't care or isn't invested in the left's drama and just talks about what everyday people are going through without being doom and gloom all the time. I like to think I do that. That is kind of the vibe I am going for, okay? I do try to just be chill, okay? And I try, like, I learned, like I said, like 2 years into my career, I think what really did it for me was the Womblands. I think the Womblands fucked me up so bad. I was like, I am stepping out of this shit entirely. If you notice, like, I will stitch other creators, but like I don't talk about other creators for the most part, and I try not to talk shit about any creators. I'm just kind of like, we're all on the same team, and I understand that I may not like your vibes, but like, we're on the same team, and I'm not going to start shit with you. And I try really hard to not do that, because I hated the Womblands so much, and I hate the creator drama when it happens. And I think it's stupid a lot of the time, and I'm like, just take your fucking beef to the DMs. Womblands is crazy, and it's some lore. Oh my god. Oh god. Oh, the Womblands. Okay, so I'm gonna tell the Womblands story, because I personally, I actually think this one in particular is something we need to pass down for generations, okay? We need to pass down the lore, the legend of the Womblands for generations, to keep people from making that mistake ever again. Because the Womblands has been forgotten, and so we're gonna keep making the same fucking mistakes, okay? So there were these two creators. Um, it was Modern Warrior and Chelsea Hart. And they had a sexual and romantic relationship with one another, right? Now, Modern Warrior was a very fit, very handsome Indigenous man. And Chelsea Hart, what pronouns is Chelsea Hart using these days? I don't even know. I'm going to use they. But these two had a relationship. And Modern Warrior had kind of been sowing his oats all across the country with various women. And not using protection, and it was slutty man shit, right? It was not, and he was telling all of them he loved them and that they were the only one. It was that kind of nonsense. It's not good behavior, right? It is not good behavior. It's nasty work, and we should not praise any man who acts like that, right? But Chelsea Hart's response to that was to have a very public nervous breakdown. And it spiraled out of control because it became these two people's like private romantic discourse. Like their private romantic business became political discourse. And they were both like call out creators too, so they had like trained their fan base to be like ultra sensitive and ready. They were trained to be attack dogs, right? And so then when you had this beef, you had essentially created two armies that were suddenly fighting one another. And it was insane. And I had friends who had been like, I was on stream with Modern Warrior like 2 days ago, and now people are trying to cancel me. Like, they're mad at me. Like, I've had anything to do with this. And so like every fucking creator anywhere close to the left side of the spectrum was terrified during that time, because it was like, if you were found to have like left a comment that Modern Warrior replied to at any moment, at any point in the last fucking year, you were going to get a harassment campaign. And everybody was expected to speak on it too. And you better have the right opinion, of which there was none. So it was a mess that should have been handled between these two people privately, because it was their own private romantic business, and people turned it into fucking political discourse. Chelsea and Lance will never live this down, as they should not. With whom Lance is the Dashcon ball pit of interpersonal drama. No! We need a where are they now for Chelsea and Lance. Seriously, like, okay, like I said, I don't get involved in creator drama that often, but honest to God, that was such a cautionary tale that I think we do need to remember that one, so it doesn't keep happening. So it does not keep happening. Like, keep your fucking business in the DMs, for fuck's sake, man. Things spiraled out of control so fast and on such a ridiculous level with that. And then Chelsea also tried to claim they might be pregnant and then implied miscarriage and said, I have a pain deep down in my womb, Lance, but it sounded like pain in my womb lands. Yeah, that's how it got the name. It's because she was like crying and having a breakdown, and she was like, there's a pain deep in my womb, Lance, and it sounded like Womblands, and so it started being called the Womblands, and that's why it's called the Womblands now. It was a mess. The memes and edits for that one will live forever. Truly, it was the magnitude of that particular soap opera was, I'm sure for anyone who didn't have to deal with it directly, it was all like a bunch of like incredibly fun drama. But as somebody who was like roped into that world, who was like standing there, like having fucking diarrhea out of like the nervousness of possibly having my career ended by these two idiots, it was not a fun time for me. You fucking knew, yes. Some say the pain still echoes in their womblands to this day. Yeah, really. Modern Warrior keeps trying to come back, so I'm surprised folks don't know. Yeah, why does he keep trying to come back? Just let it go, bro. Let it go. It's over. It's over. What I hated most about the whole atmosphere around Modern Warrior was if you agreed with any valid criticism of him, the algorithm started taking you down really racist videos about indigenous people. Holy shit, really? I can't remember. Was that before or after the Council versus the Rogue? That was before the Council versus the Rogue. The Council versus the Rogue was fun, okay? That was fun times. I enjoyed the Council versus the Rogue. I'm going to confess it's honestly a little ghoulish how much I enjoy other people's weird drama. In another life, I would have been the granny with all the gossip. Okay, so I think we need to find some sort of outlet for this desire to gossip that's not whatever this is. Okay? That's not the Womblands. Alright, we have gone... This has been an incredibly long stream. We are going to have to wrap things up on this one. So I'm going to have to read donos. There we go. Alright. Donos time. Okay. All right. I would like to thank Jennifer Davidson, Margaret Capehart, Jessica Bednarek, Ariana, Emma Price, Allison Hill, Lauren O'Connor, Mao, Nathan, Morgan Westerin, Eleanor Buxbaum, Jay Winia, Morgan May, Taylor Condra, River Johnson, Angelini Pellegrini, Faith Benamy, Kristen McSorley, Jacqueline Gordon, Devin Watson, Val Smith, Post-Punk Pastor, Pauline Gibson, Lucas Kempe Cook, and John Borg. Thank you guys so much for being patrons. Also, if you would like to donate to our outreach fund, I'm not gonna ask for donations for us right now because we're okay for right now. Okay, I will probably have to start doing those again in a few days, but we're okay on cash for the moment. So I would like you, if you want to donate to outreach, donate to some sort of nonprofit in your community that needs help, something like that at this time. I will not stop you from joining my Patreon, though. That would help out a lot. But when it comes to, like, you know, tips and stuff like that, you don't have to. I'm trying to get super chats up and running, okay? I'm trying, but, like, for some reason, YouTube keeps fucking me over. I don't know why I can't get super chats. It's making me crazy. But, alright. As always, remember to drink a water, eat a food, be kind to yourself, to your neighbor, and to the earth. Thank you guys so much for everything you do. I hope you have a wonderful day, and God bless.